Trajan was asked flat out about the lack of a second option offensively um, on the Pistons, and the answer was, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, this, that, and the other. But essentially, it seemed like, we're building something here, and we're seeing how far we can take it. That's what I got from it, at least. And I think seeing how far they can go this year in the playoffs, I think that's going to be the most interesting thing. And then, however that goes, I think really will impact how they approach the summer.
Yeah, I thought the second option comments were very interesting, but also like he's been so consistent and transparent since he's gotten here. Like I feel like a lot of the media has kind of like pushed the second option narrative on their radio shows or maybe in their articles, which I can 100% understand. Do you think that this front office right now is using the playoffs to see what type of player or what type of archetype to pair next to Cade Cunningham in the long term?
Um, I think it's less the archetype, because I think you can kind of get a gist, right? Like I think you
Mhm.
kind of know at this point, like what what fits Cade's play style, what doesn't fit Cade's play style. Um, I think the more interesting part is like what they're trying to figure out is, can we make the finals with you know Cade at the helm, and really just winning the rest of our possessions through transition buckets and smothering teams defensively. Like I think they're trying to be like a modern day '04 Pistons, right? Where like they were just holding opponents to so few points. Like I think the Pistons this season have held teams to 80 or less points. I think it was the stat, three times, and the rest of the league has also combined done that three times. So I think that's really like the thing that they're trying to see if they can pull off. And I think it's interesting. I don't know, man. Honestly, I really don't know. I like
Yeah.
if there's a world where Detroit goes out and, let's say, I don't know, let's say like Los Angeles Clippers. Let's say like they come into the summer and they realize, okay, yeah, we can't take this Kawhi thing any further. We want to rebuild, whatever, whatever. Is that a call Detroit makes? I think you and I actually might have talked about Kawhi
Yeah.
to Detroit like last summer, and ironically, it seems like more and more like he'll be available probably this summer, and he fits. And health is obviously a big swing factor, and who knows if Detroit would actually, make that kind of move. But I'm strictly speaking in the hypothetical. Like, is that something Detroit would be open to? Is the second option, quote unquote, that they could trade for? Is it a priority that that player also is a high level defender? Because then that narrows your search a little bit. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting, and it'll also be interesting to see who steps up in the playoffs, because that's also been a really big factor in Detroit's success this season, is the fact that despite not having a solidified second option, it seems like in the games that they win, every single time it's somebody new that steps up. It's Javante going for like
Yeah.
25, or you'll have nights where Duncan just is unconscious from three. There'll be nights where Jalen Duren starts creating more with the ball in his hands. Even Isaiah Stewart's had some high scoring nights, even though he's known primarily for his defense. And who knows, even with Kevin Herter as well, if he can step up in that way as well. I think it's a basketball experiment. That's like the best way I would
Yeah.
describe, the Pistons' approach to this season.
Yeah, because we all know Cade is Cade. Like Cade's a
Yeah.
franchise player, and I think the way I look at it, and I'm going to use this team as a parallel, so don't cook me in the comments. It wouldn't surprise me, and I'm not saying they're going to make this type of haul, but it wouldn't surprise me. Let's say the Pistons, maybe they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they don't make it to the finals. Wouldn't surprise me if they say, okay, let's go make an Orlando Magic type Desmond Bain trade. Like, we know what we need. Let's go get that guy. We have our draft capital. I'm not saying they're going to trade 3 first, 4 round picks for a guy, but I think just from my perspective and my vantage point watching these games, like we all know Cade's going to get you 25, 10 assists. Duren has kind of been like that second option. He's been put in the second option box as that 17, 18 point per game guy. But I think we can both agree, like, you would much rather have maybe a two guard next to Cade of being that, 15 to 20 point per game guy, or even maybe a long term power forward this summer if you could acquire him. But I honestly think that like where the Pistons are at, it's still evaluation. And I think a lot of people are just hammering Trajan, which I'm going to kind of give him a pass. Like he didn't really draft his core. If you do want to blame like previous regimes, I always felt, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if you feel this way, that Troy Weaver kind of wasted prime years with Cade Cunningham and his rookie scale contract, where like
Yeah,
you see a lot of
100%.
these teams like Washington, for example. Alex Sarr is still on a rookie scale contract, and they traded for Trae Young and they traded for Anthony Davis. Like they're trying to go for it. They're trying to get more butts and seats. They're trying to make the playoffs. You look at other teams that have a franchise guy like a Wimby. They went out and got De'Aaron Fox. Like I always felt like the Pistons kind of missed that opportunity. And I know there were rumors like the Pistons were trying to pair Cade Cunningham with like Jalen Brunson. Or I remember like even before
Could
we
you
got Cade,
imagine considering
what was
the
that?
rivalry now?
Dude, that would just be like a perfect fit. Like I don't
Yeah,
know who in the front office didn't like Jalen Brunson or didn't like the fit, but like if you had like Cade playing off ball, Jalen Brunson's your point guard, like that would just be like a nasty duo. But like just kind of circling back, like I always felt like they kind of like missed that opportunity because now Cade's on a rookie
completely.
or he's on a max now. He's going to be making $50 million. Jalen Duren's probably going to get close to a max, so you're going to be paying two guys close up to $100 million. So I think realistically, you can only really pay three guys in the NBA with the new CBA. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs and how aggressive they are to try to pair Cade and try to get someone next to him as a number two option for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and honestly, if I had any frustration, it is kind of the fact that um, you're in that same situation with Duran, where now you're in the last year of his rookie scale contract. And, like I know flexibility is a really big thing with Detroit in their front office, and like they have a lot of cap wizards in that front office. But I think um, knowing that he's on a rookie scale deal, um, I feel like it could have opened up a little bit more with opportunities because obviously Duran is one of your pillars of this team, right? Like he's not
Mhm.
going anywhere. So, knowing that he's going to probably command a max contract this summer or something close to it, um, reduces your flexibility and also like the likelihood of bringing in another one of those guys. Um, it's tough. I really kind of feel like if there was one criticism I had, it probably would be not even the fact that you couldn't bring in another max level guy, but just some form of utilizing the trade exception, or even combining contracts or something like that, where maybe you don't have to trade Tobias or something like that, but um, something where it's a move that you can't make in the summer because of finances, right? Because I think your first round pick capital is what it is. I don't think it's probably going to be seen as more valuable just because you're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and most likely after the playoffs you'll probably be solidified going forward as
Yeah.
one of the teams to look at for the future as well. um when you talk about the Eastern Conference, like you'll be talking about the Pistons, and I don't know. It's interesting. I could see them making a Desmond Bain level move in the summer, and that being kind of the direction that they go. If they don't end up winning the championship, I think if you look at a Trey Murphy, I know he's been talked to death in the Pistons community, but the really interesting thing about him is the fact that he plays like a max level player, but he does not have a max level contract, and he has a lot of
Yeah.
flexibility in that contract for the next few years. So if there was a Desmond Bain level kind of move, I would almost like put my flag on the Trey Murphy trade, just because I don't see a better value contract in the NBA than Trey Murphy, because he can put up 44 points in a night, and I think currently he's only making like 24,
Yeah.
25 million dollars. And he pretty much stays around that range for the remainder of that deal. And I think that's such a steal of a contract that I think it wouldn't limit your financial flexibility moving forward. Like it wouldn't be like you're completely like
In the
unable to make
aprons.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I think, and I'm no cap expert or anything like that, and math was never my strong suit, so don't quote me on this. But I feel like, bringing back Tobias this summer and then going and getting a Trey Murphy as well, I feel like you'd still be under that second apron, depending on how much Duran's contract goes for, and also how much you want to bring back Tobias for. Um, I think there's a world where that could still fit under the second apron, because that's really the apron you want to be under if you want to,
Yeah.
have options of continuing to figure things out. And also the fact that you have two other extensions coming up with Asar and Ron in the future as well.
Hey, even Stu's
And Stu
extension
as well. I was
offer
gonna
there.
say,
Yeah.
yeah.
I said you could sign Stu to another contract extension. I probably would because last season I thought he was a really good rim defender. This season, uh he got better, which I didn't even think was possible. His defense around the rim has been phenomenal. I'm with you though. Like it's not like what type of move they make so much for me. It's like just getting that help. And I do think Trey Murphy will be in a Pistons uniform eventually because like everything you read, it's just like, yeah, if Trajan and the Pistons do make a move, look to New Orleans, look for Trey Murphy. I mean, that's a guy that he was in the war room with David Griffin when they drafted him. So I think there's a lot of appeal there. It just really depends when New Orleans wants to actually hit that reset button. I don't know if you saw the quotes before the trade deadline, but I like honestly like kind of like chuckle to myself. It's like, yeah, we feel like the core that we have is a championship core and we're gonna compete for next season. I'm like,
I think that only
okay.
goes so long. And I also did see that, like, if New Orleans considered moving them, it would have to be a Desmond Bain level type of return.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're Detroit, you kind of just have to, if like, let's say you don't make, win the championship, or you don't make it to the finals this year, I feel like that's kind of something you have to accept, is like, what, our first round pick capital for the next few years, is it more valuable than bringing in a Trey Murphy? And I don't think, it is ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, a pick in the, 20s to late 20s isn't as valuable as it was like in the top 5, right?
Right.
So I mean, like whether it's Trey Murphy, um, I don't even know what Utah's doing, trading for Jaren Jackson Jr. That was like a really weird trade. Like, um, are they gonna try to build with Laurie and them like long term? Like, is Laurie still available? I'm not entirely sure. But it's definitely interesting. I think they will make a move. And it'll probably be this summer during the draft if I did have to guess. I think they're just really using this playoffs as just as like more evaluation, more experiments, to say, okay, Trajan's here. I got enough evidence. I got 2 years of these guys in the playoffs. And then we'll kind of go and make our move from there, which I can understand. And I don't really blame Trajan. I just blame the previous regime for just kind of like sitting on their hands. Like I thought the year where they had all that cap space, like I thought Cam Johnson was going to be a Piston, like 100%. Like,
Yeah, that 2023 year.
yeah, look, it's not a sexy name, right? But like at least it's just like more than like what you had because like you had like wings. Like no disrespect to Kevin Knox, but like it would have been like a clear upgrade, like next to like Cade.
Honestly, like, it is criminal that it took this long for the Pistons to be good, because to me the question was never about the talent on this team. Like, the talent of their young core was undisputably good. They
Yeah,
had an undisputably good young core, and like, people didn't take it seriously, or wouldn't even take that opinion seriously because of the results of, their win and loss record. Detroit has always had a really talented young core. It's just always, and that's the thing with, Troy, that like was super frustrating, is that he is a hell of a drafter outside of the 2020 top 10. That's the one really big miss there. I will say though, he did make the move to get Isaiah Stewart, which, is
yeah,
still part of that 2020 draft as well, and Sadiq Bey, who he brought back to New Orleans and is having a career revival. Um, but I feel like he was a great drafter, and it just refused to really, take the team to the next level. Like Boyan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks was the most probably aggressive move he ever made. And even then, like those are two guys who weren't going to change your foundation as a team. Like you needed to honestly do what Washington was doing. Like you needed to go out and get a solidified guy rather than, a long-term role player like Corey Joseph. God bless his soul. He was this team's veteran for so long, right? And like it's fine to have a veteran like that, but you need someone who's played super high level, like some, especially for Cade's sake, like not going out and I remember when Phoenix was getting ready to trade Chris Paul, I was like, Detroit, I thought would be a great fit because that's someone who kind of filled Cade's shoes at one point, right? Like he was once
Mhm.
in Cade's shoes. That was someone he could have learned from. Like having that kind of all-star. Obviously Chris Paul was an all-star at that point, but he changes cultures in the way that Tobias changed the culture here. Like or even bring in a Cam Johnson, like you said at that point. Like Tobias, even if we're not talking about his veteran leadership, like off the court, his fit on the court, like having a power forward who can consistently shoot and knows their role specifically, and is available consistently and can also like show up defensively, like changed the entire foundation of the consistency. Like once Tobias got here, it felt like everything changed. And obviously a big part of that is obviously his leadership, but like part of it is literally just the archetype of player that he is.
Right.
Like it was so obvious that the Pistons needed that kind of player for years and it just refused to go out there. There was James Wiseman playing power forward minutes at one point. Like it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that whole regime, man, like, after Cade's rookie year, I'm like, I've seen enough. Like, I know I like the trajectory. I was like, the kid's gonna probably average 30 one day. Like, I understand there's different ways to build a championship, but I just felt like it was just like the asset management was terrible. Like there are teams that were willing to like throw you 3 firsts for Jeremy Grant, and you're like, nah, we're good. Like we're good. Like obviously you traded Jeremy Grant to Portland, and then you were able to kind of swing a Jalen Duren, which was a good trade, but like I just felt like the asset management was bad. Like I thought during the rebuild we would have like taken on bad contracts and got future first, kind of took that OKC approach, but we just never did it. But like, hey man,
I,
I'm happy where we're at though.
I was gonna say Trajan did more of one of those kinds of moves that like the Pistons should have been doing in that 2020 to like 23 range was going out and selling on one of your guys for a better first round pick, even like that and expiring money, because it felt like whenever the Pistons would make one of those trades, it ended up just being second round capital or at best, like they weren't really taking on bad contracts um to leverage to get better assets. It just felt like they took on bad contracts and convinced themselves that these bad contracts would be good players for them.
Yeah, it's like reclamation project after
Yeah.
reclamation project.